Okay. So again, the brush up of last week. Uh, Equalizer for 3D tracking. We have different locations to work on things, how you import your footage, how you track it, and how you add 3D content. Only as I said last time or last class also, we missed some point. That is which menu you are looking at. That's the confusion we had in the last class. So the first part is you check with your the bottom line environments, which tab you are looking at. By default, it is something. What is it showing? 2D or manual tracking part or something. I'll go with something called basic, which will give most of the things required for us. Or I think default you can go. Default is this. I'll go with basic. Yeah. Cameras, lens, uh, the persons means in the industry they are not going to give random. They will not download from internet and use the footage, right? They are going to shoot with their proper cameras. So they'll have a details about all the camera lens, distortion, if anything is applied, all this they'll have a detail. But here, when we don't have those details, we'll ask the software to do it. Okay, those are the things we'll try to learn. I After working with PF Track and Equalizer, what I felt, what observations I have done is, yes, they say it is industry standard software. Certain modules, yes, it is that way because PF Track is user friendly. You have very less to controls are there, but we don't concentrate on that. But here, more control you have. So we will look into that perspective also. So first thing is, in order to import the footage, you select the camera option. Right side, you get the tabs, browse, which one? C drive, users, okay, music, yeah. Show the image. No, not this one, yeah. Okay, I no, today what we copied is different, right? Footage folder. No, this is different. This is why remote. No, today I thought I got different footage. That was not giving so detailed track points, right? So I captured something else. Okay, this I was using. So I'll copy that. Okay. So I'll just close music and on track two. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. This is fine. So first thing you need to what do you say, cache the file. In Equalizer, it is a mandatory step for us. If I am trying to play this, okay, though it is playing at regular interval, but it is always better to cache that. So you go with playback. You have these two buttons here, export buffer compression. It is going to save in the same folder where your footage is. So I'll go with that. Okay. Then import buffer comparison. It is just reloading the file from there. So if I play, it will be little proper. Now the problem is I didn't change the frame rate. 30. Okay. I'll do it again. Playback, overwrite, import. Yeah. This is fine for me. Okay. So we are talking about auto tracking. Last class also have seen the same thing. Then after this example, we can go with manual tracking. So select the camera part. You can scroll down. You have something called auto tracking settings. In these things, what you have active points, how many track points you need, and for how many number of frames. That so this is very negligible value, 30, 60. So I'll go with somewhere 100 and just give a space there, 120 something. Let's see. Mm, search intervals, none of these things we have changed. Okay. Then go with, click on track. Okay, sorry. This is manual tracking. So if I just come to auto tracking here, okay, this is the main for menu for us for auto tracking. So click on auto, click. Now you have a minimum track length and search interval. So what it is actually doing is it is going to search every 15 frames new points. That means at least for one frame you should be able to have 100 track points is what that is what we have given there 100 and 120. So for each frame it should be able to create 100 track points. If we are doing it manually, the minimum number of track points per frame where equalizer can do a better job. Minimum is 6 track points is what industry people say. More than that is always welcome. Okay. So, okay. Now, once the tracking is done, you can go with Calci, find badly tracked points. Here you have that resulting points select only or you have delete immediately. Means software will decide and delete. So if I'm just clicking on delete immediately and click OK, it has removed all the bad track points and deleted it. Next, this one, it's like solving the camera. Once your tracking is done and you kind of identified, you ask the software itself to identify whether the track point is good or bad. And I asked it to delete. If it's the track point is bad, you delete it. Then I'll go with cache from all the scratch thing. Okay. Here you cannot modify something. It does give the information to us. Once this is kind of okay for us, click use result and we checked it 0.25. Like I said the other day also, anything less than 0.5 or zero point 0.7 is welcome. But based on our footage, we can still try to reduce the error prone region. That is the possibility of error. Means the track points might be some having some zagginess or something that we need to check. The first point after the camera is tracked, this calculation of all from scratch is nothing but solving the camera. Once you solve the camera, you get the error this region. After you get it, if any modifications you do, you need to come back and do the camera solving. So last week we just clicked it and then we started forwarding to add some new data and all, or what is the orientation thing and all. But here we in what is the difference I was talking about PF track and equalizer is it has some extra sophisticated tool which it will analyze and decide, or make the tracking information more better way. So if you just go to window here, you have something called parameter adjustment window. Okay. In this, we are going to add multiple properties, and as a software, you analyze the footage and adjust accordingly. So I was talking in the starting point, there is something called camera and lens. Without the information of lens, you cannot decide that the camera tracking is perfect. And unfortunately, whatever the footage we are using, maybe I shot from my mobile, or if I have downloaded from internet, we might not be able to get the information about the lens. So we are asking the software to do that task for us. So what you can do is you can come to this lens tab here. Okay. You have something called focal length and you have something called distortion. These two are the properties which will help us to modify or do better modification or solving the camera. So first thing I'll go with the focal length here. Focal length property. See, if you have some information about your focal length, you can manually type it here. Okay. That focal length right now, it is showing as a fixed. That means the software is believing that 1.30 mm is the fixed value for the focal length. But we are not, we don't have a clarity whether it is right or wrong. So what you can do is you can just change that to adjust. Okay. Then switch on this guy again. He is from window, parameter adjustment window, monitor. Then you click on adjust. It is doing the task for us. It is analyzing the camera movement and it is trying to understand error. It has come fine. If I click parameter transfer, some value is changed. Is there anything changed? 30.78 previously, is it same? No one observed. Okay. Next, I can go with the distortion. Switch on this guy. Adjust again. Something like trying to readjust the track points distortion and it is aligning. Once you get this information, you see this deviation value, it was 2.3 something starting. It has come down to 0.21. That 0.02, some whatever the negligible value, it is good for us. But right now you can say that the footage what you have for tracking is kind of up to the standard of your equalizer level. Because it is dealing with the movement of your footage and it is trying to give the information to us. So once these two things are ready, I can close this guy. We have proper track points. Here it is not updated. So I'll go with cal and then use the result. This step is mandatory. If you don't do this thing, it will still remember that 0.25 and it will continue. Okay. Once this step is done, we are ready for the next thing. Like first thing is camera tracking. Then we have camera solving. These two steps are done. Now, after we do one more checkup, you can do here. Till the time you are in let me say, auto tracking, you have something called 3D points here. Before you go for camera solving also, you can check this. You can see that yellow color point, and then this green color four lines. Bigger the distance between, means like this is almost like center point, it is slightly away from the center of that four lines. Bigger the offset, more the distance between those two, yellow point and the anchor point of that four lines. Here itself, you can decide that your footage is not good for tracking. You don't need to do this solving things, everything. Switch on the footage, apply auto tracker, and select these 3D points. Check this point. If these points are very far away, that means it is not suitable for tracking. We can only justify and decide and go with a different. Okay. So yeah, once this is done, I can go with 3D orientation controls. Okay. This is like 3D environment for us. I can go with left mouse button, right mouse button to zoom in, or mouse controls. Okay. And here you have the perspective or orthographic view. Once you are in orthographic view, you can check in this. These things will help us to talk about the next topic, that is orienting the scene to the 3D environment. Right now, the footage is in 3D environment because we have the cloud, point cloud, everything is there. But when you say something called 3D environment, you will have a base grid. That line, black line, is the grid for us. Your track points are not on the grid. For us, if you take any Maya or any 3D application, whatever creation you do, we'll place it on the grid. We'll not place it below the grid. Okay. So here also we want all the content to be moved towards the grid, above the grid. For that, we have something called orientation. Now, this is for preview. 3D orientation menu is for what you are looking at, how the environment is and all that. Then you have another tab here called lineup controls. This is to finalize whether the object what you are going to place, whether it is oriented properly or based on what point you want to orient and all this. This is the location we need to check it. So here you can decide what all the points you, I mean, it's like based on what points I want to consider as a origin or as a uh, plane, ground plane. So what we are doing in the 3D orient and lineup option is you are trying to bring the point clouds match to the grid first step. Then I will select something as a origin, means anchor point, center point, so that I can add content based on those points. So for that, whenever we want to add orient your scene to the grid, you need to have minimum 3 points. That is x-axis and z-axis. X-axis and z-axis. So you can select any 3 points and then start working. So to select any track points here, you cannot randomly drag. It will not select that way. You need to hold Alt to select the point. Okay, first point by holding Alt. Whenever you want to go for selecting multiple points, you need to hold Alt and Shift. Okay, I've selected 2 points. Then I'll go with this third point. 3 points I've selected. Okay, then this is for the selection of the objects, selection of the track points. Now I need to check this process happening, whether it is aligning it or not in the orientation part. So I'll just jump into see. Always you don't need to come here. See, remember the shortcuts we have. If you are in lineup controls, you need to press F6. So if I just come over here, uh, edit, you have aligned the 3 points to XZ based on your footage. Mostly, you see, if you are either you are shooting your footage in portrait mode or landscape mode, we are going to place some objects on the ground. Definitely, it would be X and Z. Until unless you want to place something on the wall or something, it will remain same. So I can go with XZ plane. Now, if you see the side view, track points are aligned, but not to the origin. Okay. For that, again, I'll come back here to the line of controls. You select any 1 point. Suppose I want this guy to be the center point. So I'll go with Alt and select this guy. I'll come over here, orienting. Again, edit. This time, because I have selected only 1 point, I'll go with point 1 and set as an origin. This is for our convenience, nothing to do with the software part. Because we don't know where we are placing the object. If I know that there is a grid, I'm going to place on it. Based on the grid, I'll place it. For our convenience, we have aligned the whole scene to the grid. Once this is done, we are ready to go and add the 3D contents. So we should be, whenever you want to add some contents, everything, these two are the menus which you need to toggle and check it. Okay. So 3D models you have, you can create from here, or geometry, I think import, yeah, where is that? Anywhere, import here. Here you can have models, 3D models. It will be showing here. Mm, 3D models is selected. This is point group. Fine. कहाँ से add किया? Here we have import 3D model. We can import it from here. Okay, but I'm just using the existing ones. So I'll go to 3D models, create. Now, whoever is going to work on 3D tracking, kind of showreel or anything, for the breakdowns, you will be submitting the final output when you add the 3D content, everything, passes, lighting, all the things you will do it. But along with that, you need to have a cone test. We say object test or cone test. We need to add as many cones as possible to showcase the what is the perspective. Okay. So for that, I'm using the cone only here. So I'll click on the cone. Okay. Now cone got selected. Here the problem is it is away from the grid. It is somewhere in the air. So I want to snap to this guy. So you can just hold Alt and then select this thing, and you can come over to lineup controls, and suppose if I want to snap him to the origin point, hold Alt and Shift. Okay. Then again in 3D models you have snap to point. Okay. So if I just come over to lineup controls, last week this is where we got stuck because we were not shifting to lineup thing. We are looking at here only. Okay. Now, based on this thing, this is a bigger size, so I can just go and see it. Now 3D objects, it is not get selecting here, so I can go with Alt and select this guy again. Scale. Okay, you can use the scale tools over here, adjust him accordingly. Okay, yeah. If this is not snapping to that region, or if it is jumping or anything, our tracking is not good. This is what we do in Equalizer. After this setup is done, we have to export it to Maya or Blender, whichever application you are going using in 3D part, we can export it there. Now, last week, what we made ourselves confusion is this region. I tried to delete the data. Okay, but if it is anything less than 5 or point 0.5 or zero point 0.7, and we have done three levels of solving. Okay, three tools we have used on this guy here, and lens distortion and focal length thing. We have modified all three levels. After modifying the three levels, we hardly will be needing to modify these points here. Even if this high pitch is there, it could be one point which is already negligible. Or if you want to look at these properties, see, this is not the full curve. So you can just go to the browser, show point deviation curves all, and then show weight curves all. This is the actual view all. This is the total curve for us. Now here you don't get to see that zaggedness. Okay. So if it is more zagged way and all, yes, then we can select individual points and delete it. But believe in this point, believe in this value. Okay. After the three levels of solving, It is less, almost all two footages. So we tried last week also. It came out to 2.2 itself. Okay. And there are situations people say if it is point 0.5, they will reach to point 0.3 or 4. That also chalta. But luckily we have footage of point 0.2. So it depends upon the footage, nothing that. Just check that value. Once in PF track, what happens is even if that value is less high, when you go and select individual points and snap also we get errors. That in that perspective, this is super. Comparing to the two applications, this has given a perfect output us. After all the things, when I add 3D model also, still there is a chance of what to say mismatch in the 3D model to the footage with respect to PF track. I have done experiments. We have seen in different examples with different footage. We face that issues. But here, once this whole process is done in a systematic format, only confusion is with the interface, where to select what. Now, last week I was mumbling. Now, next week will be masters. So, because we know one application, it becomes automatically. And Dinesh has already done one. He has already included 3D model and then rendered file also. Okay. But he's behind me to check whether it is good, bad review. I didn't respond. Thing is, see, if I look on the bigger screen, I can identify some big bad things. On WhatsApp, I'm not able to do it. Okay. So we'll look into that. So step one in equalizer, adding content. This is one technique that is automatic. You are not struggling or you are not planning to decide where to select the points. Now, a few authors, they say, even from Equalizer website also, the authors who talk about it, they say this is not their main weapon. Their strength is not auto track. Their strength is relies on manual track because they know claritily that for one frame, at least we need some minimum six track points. Based on that, they will design over their own track. After that, the process is same. Solving the camera, reducing these things, everything is common. But whether you click on auto tracking or manual tracking, that we'll decide and do it. Okay. We'll try with different footage for manual tracking. And the other part, what you can do is there is something called color corrections also, I think. Where is that option? Environment, overview, playback. Any color corrections tool here? Adjustments, huh? No. Somewhere environments only we should have. Basically, that is for if your footage is some kind of dull or very sharp or anything, it can be color corrected before tracking. That would help for manual tracking because you are going to select the points and that is not going to affect your final output. It is just for the tracking, it will be used. Okay. Yeah. This is for 3D tracking in equalizer. I'm happy in the coming batches I can take an equalizer. Industry required one. That was one. What do you say? Backdrop. People say we didn't know equalizer. It was there for so long with software. We didn't know the interface itself is as troubled. इसमें क्या करेंगे? What we will do in this? How to know where to save? Never concentrated on this. Now we can do it. We'll do better works on this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, cone, I have added one. The option is you need to add multiple. As an initial thing, you can add that. Yeah, in this itself, you can go and add that 3D objects. These things we have, I'll try to find footages from online because while we record, we might not be knowing whether it has a distortion or not. Okay. Even in PF track or the other one, Bozo, um, it's literally we draw lines. It's like fisheye, you get to understand, right? There's a footage, we say it as a fisheye. There is some lens distortion in the footage. So what is something like you do unwrapping, right? So we unwrap the distortion, we track the footage, again we add the distortion and add the 3D pen. For that, we will be working on this distortion grids thing. Otherwise, manual will do it. Auto tracking is done. These things are supporting tools kind of thing. So you have manual, distortion, and auto tracking. Three different techniques of tracking part we need to go through. Okay. Now, how many are there today here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Why really reducing? Anyone got jobs or what? Yeah. Guys, attendance is mandatory because the SLCM previously it used to be when Balar sir is there and afterwards also only HOD used to give the attendance. So we never concentrated on that. But now individual faculty, specialization faculty have access for that particular batch. Right now, why I'm taking signatures is I'm putting it into that Excel sheet. I'll upload to the SLCM. You very soon you will get to see. This time SLCM they are delaying. So inform everyone. Attendance mandatory. Now they'll create. You don't want to take a risk of what is a back backlog in the final year, right? That's not in my hand. Once I update on SLCM, they will touch. Okay. And this time they say 6,000. How many did you guys anyone pay? NEDT we have, right? NEDT. NE is for attendance. No? DT is for attendance probably. NE is for internal marks. Internal marks, you apply, means like you submit the extra assignments, that's done. But DT, per subject 6,000 attendance issue. And the worst part is you and me will be in trouble that we need to take extra classes. You are paying 6,000 fine. Tomorrow you will say, no, I have paid 6,000 for what? University says, who have attendance shortage, how can he attend exam without attending classes? Logical question. So, as a faculty, how many hours you have spent with the student, taking some extra classes and giving assignment them, everything document proof required. Student has a right to demand, right? I'm paying 6,000. So they are making more rules and regulations at your end. Come and sit in the class. So by when, see, the moment we can finalize on it, the emails I get, they just inform to the other members also. Hmm? Lights, huh? Those guys might have forgotten. We need to run behind Manu sir. We'll talk to him. We'll remind him so that if he calls them, they'll come in. Or if he knows perfectly, we only can fix it. We don't need anyone. Yes, please.